So, you've probably heard the news. The US government is shut down. But what does that really mean? For you, for me, for all of us. We're going to cut through all that political noise and get right to it. Why it's happening, and yeah, how it affects everything from your wallet to, believe it or not, the pandas at the National Zoo.
So why is the government closed? Well, at the heart of it, it's pretty simple. They've run out of money. Congress was supposed to agree on a new budget, how to spend our tax dollars, but they just couldn't. And now the whole country's kind of stuck in this political gridlock, and we're starting to see the real-world consequences.
And of course, as soon as the shutdown started, so did the finger pointing. It's day 2, and everyone in Washington is already blaming everyone else. So the big question is, who's actually responsible for all this? Let's dive into the 2 very different stories we're hearing. To really get what's going on, you have to look at the arguments from both sides of the aisle. And trust me, they paint completely different pictures of who's to blame. We'll start with the Republican side of things, coming straight from the Speaker's office. Here's a quote that really says it all. "I quite literally have nothing to negotiate." That's from House Speaker Mike Johnson. And wow, that pretty much sums up the Republican playbook here. Their message is simple. Hey, we already put a reasonable offer on the table. The ball's in their court now. They're basically waiting for the Democrats to give in. Okay, so here's where the 2 sides really clash. The Republican position is that they passed what they call a clean stopgap bill. The idea was just to keep the government open for another 7 weeks. No funny business. They're saying Chuck Schumer and the Democrats rejected it and are now holding the government hostage. But from the Democratic side, they're saying, hold on a second. They believe Republicans are refusing to compromise and are basically using the shutdown to threaten the health care of millions of people. It's a classic he said, she said. So you can see it's more than just a budget dispute. The real fight, the thing at the very heart of the stalemate, is all about healthcare. This shutdown isn't really about spending. It's a proxy war over the future of healthcare in this country. Get a load of this number, 20 million. That's how many Americans could see their health insurance premiums just explode. We're talking double or even triple if these Obamacare subsidies aren't extended. For Democrats, this is the absolute line in the sand. It's a non-negotiable. And you can see why when a number that big is at stake. So you might be asking, what exactly are these Obamacare subsidies we're talking about? Well, the easiest way to think about them is like a discount coupon for your health insurance. The federal government chips in to help cover part of your monthly payment, which makes coverage way more affordable for people. Take those subsidies away, and suddenly, millions of Americans just can't afford health insurance anymore. Okay, now we have to talk about one of the most heated claims being thrown around, this idea of funding healthcare for illegal aliens. It's a really charged talking point that you're probably hearing a lot. So let's try to unpack what's actually going on here. All right, let's get into the weeds of this talking point. The claim is that the Democratic proposal has billions for illegal alien healthcare. But when you look at the reporting, that's being called a complete exaggeration. So what's the kernel of truth in there? It seems to boil down to a dispute over the federal match rate for emergency services that some states provide to the undocumented. And there's also this gray area involving asylum seekers and parolees, people who actually have legal papers, but Republicans are still referring to them as illegal aliens. But the bottom line here, the main thing Democrats are pushing for, is protecting those broader Obamacare subsidies we just talked about, the ones for millions of American citizens. Okay, enough about the political back and forth for a second. Let's talk about the ripple effects. Because this isn't just some game being played in D.C. This shutdown has very real, tangible impacts on people all over the country. We're talking about real people, real jobs, and real services. I mean, just imagine this for a second. You go to work and you're told that your job might just disappear. Permanently. That's the terrifying reality facing thousands of federal workers right now. The White House is literally talking about potential permanent layoffs if this thing drags on. And to put a number on that, just look at one state, Wisconsin. 18,000 federal workers there are affected by this. That's 18,000 families suddenly dealing with this massive uncertainty. And remember, that's just Wisconsin. The scale of this is it's staggering when you think about it. And it's not just federal paychecks. This touches so many different parts of our lives. If you're in the military, your pay could be at risk after October 15th. The September jobs report, delayed. Need to get a passport? Well, a lot of those offices are closed. Even the Smithsonian museums are running on fumes. They've only got enough leftover cash to stay open till October 6th. And hey, here's a weird one for you. What about the pandas? No, I'm serious. The National Zoo's super famous panda cam could go dark because of all this.
It might sound like a small thing, but it's just another one of those examples that shows how widespread the effects of a shutdown really are.
So, is there an end in sight? Is anyone even talking about a way out of this mess? Well, there are a couple of possible paths forward, so let's take a look at how this stalemate could finally break.
There is one short-term deal that's being floated around. The idea is that instead of a vague promise to talk later, Republicans would guarantee a straight up or down vote on extending those healthcare subsidies. It's a way to separate the issues to get the government open now and deal with the healthcare part in a separate, dedicated vote. It's a potential compromise, but we'll see if anyone bites. And then there's the bigger question. How do we stop this from happening over and over again? Well, there's actually a bill called the Eliminate Shutdowns Act. Here's how it works. If a funding deadline passes, a 14-day temporary funding bill, what they call a continuing resolution, or CR, would automatically kick in. The government stays open, and it forces both sides to keep negotiating without holding the entire country hostage. It's a pretty interesting idea to prevent this kind of brinksmanship. Which brings us to the big final question, right? Is this just the new cost of doing business in Washington? Is the political shutdown just a regular part of our lives now? It's a pretty heavy thought to end on, but it's definitely something to think about as this whole thing plays out.